Hello, welcome to Country Girl. My name is Kathy Jarvis and we're in my greenhouse today and want to show you some of the things that have happened during the last week or so. I finished planting all the fall garden and I'll show you what's going on in the greenhouse. We transplanted these lettuces about a week ago. Some of them did really well, some of them not so good. The red lettuce is hard to see because it blends in to the earth so well. But I lost a few of the bib lettuces when I transplanted them, so I'm going to come back in here and seed them. The spinach just did fine with transplanting them. And I planted some seeds over there and they're up nicely. I have some Swiss chard there that's doing nice and some kale. And it goes on back. Still got some tomatoes yet that we haven't, that we're just waiting for them to turn before we pick them. And then once these are done, we'll take them out. But there's a lot of green ones over here on this large larger bush. So we're going to leave those. And over here, the Swiss chard, we've harvested it pretty much, but it's coming back. This kale we can probably harvest some off of. I got an eggplant that's doing nicely. Probably should pick that one. And a lot of blooms. I don't know if they're gonna have time to set or not. And then more kale. Now the kale and the Swiss chard will be good all winter probably. I had them in the smaller greenhouse last year all winter, no problem. The turnips are all up, the broccoli raab's up, my peas have come up. I got the broccoli transplanted, they're doing well. Transplanted a few cabbages. We don't use much cabbage, so I got 4 of them here, and that will be more than enough. Cauliflower. Over here, I have bunching onions. I still don't see an onion in the bunch. And I got some beets through this area. For some reason, these were older seeds. I just have a few left, and I put them down, and I don't see anything coming up from the Beau's Blood. But the Detroit ones did really well. And then I have 2 rows of radishes, and then I have some cauliflower stuck in between the tomato tops here. And then we got our Brussels sprouts. I'll show you what they're doing. Some of them look like they're heading up nicely. It's the first time I've tried Brussels sprouts, so I'm really not for sure what they're supposed to be doing. But those look more like what I suspect, especially that one right there, than what these do. These don't quite look like what I was thinking they were supposed to look like. But we'll see. Now, I also have moss rose still blooming in here. Today we're going to take and we're going to harvest a few of these peppers, and we're going to make some pepper jelly today. So I want different colors. I want a green one. Oops. I'm going to set you down while I do this. Okay. All right. green one. I want a good purple one, nice and purple. Purple one. All right. I want a couple of yellow ones. I need a pound of these things to make the jelly. And that's a pound of them after they've had the core and the seeds taken out of them. Well, hopefully this is enough to do it. If not, we'll come back out and get more. So we're heading back to the house. Okay. Okay, the first thing we're going to do to make our red pepper jelly is to wash the peppers. Now I know I got these out of the greenhouse, but they still have some bug bites, and not bug bites, but some dirt that got on them and stuff. So what we're going to do is take them, get the tops and the bottoms off, and we're going to seed them. So we're basically open them up, take the seeds out. I don't like seeds in my jelly. Okay. And we're going to cut them into squares about an inch in diameter. And we're going to put them on a scale because we have to have 1 pound. So when you're working with these, try to decide what colors you want and put one of each color in. As you get closer to the pound mark, you can decide if you need any other colors. But I'm putting a yellow one, an orange one, a yellow one, and a red one in first. Try to get as much as this white membrane off as you can, because it's a little bitter in the jelly. So you continue doing that until you get a pound of cored seeded peppers into your on your scale. And it doesn't matter what kind of scale you have. I know a lot of people have those new digital ones. You know, that's fine. I have an old-fashioned one that I've had forever. It works. I'm not one that runs out and replaces something just because there's something newer on the market. I figure that's a waste of money. If this one ever breaks and quits weighing correctly, then I might consider, well, I would consider getting a digital. But this one doesn't require any batteries, doesn't require any electricity. It's just a basic scale. And I like that. I like not having to worry about having to, does it have batteries? Is it powered? Yeah, just come out here and pull it out of the cabinet. And you can check them every once in a while with a water bottle or something that weighs less than a pound and make sure that's weighing correctly. Yeah. But so far I've had no problems with this. So in this world of everybody having to have the newest and finest, remember, sometimes the old-fashioned stuff works just as well, if not better. Okay, I will see you again when I get all these chopped up. Alright, as you can see, it did not take all of the peppers, but I do have 1 pound worth of peppers on there. Now, the next thing I can do is I need to chop them. Now, you can do it 2 ways. You can use a food processor, or you can dice them with a dicer. Now, I just got this dicer not too long ago, so we're gonna do that. The reason I'm doing the dicing is because I like to have pepper flakes, the diced peppers, in the jelly instead of having it just all pureed and chopped real fine. I like to have little chunks. So that's what we're going to do next. Very simple. You just put them on there like so, bring the end down and push down on it and chops them. And you just continue doing that until you have them all done. Simple, easy peasy. In no time flat, you'll have it done. And then I'll show you the next step. Once you have them all smashed up, you just simply lift this top off, and you have a nice assortment of diced peppers, which you will bring over to your stove and put into your bowl. Now, in this bowl, I have 3 cups of sugar, a 3/4 of a teaspoon of salt, 1 tablespoon of butter. We're going to add the peppers next. Are they beautiful? Wow. Now this little thing is very, very easy to clean. It's pretty much self-cleaning itself as far as the grid. And it comes with this little claw. And you can use that to push anything that needs to be pushed through. So it's pretty handy and pretty easy to use. Okay, next thing we do is mix our peppers and our sugar and stuff, and we add a whole cup of vinegar. Now, it calls for white wine vinegar. I don't have white wine vinegar here, so I'm going to use red. This will give it a more of a reddish tint instead of a clear tint, but it's red pepper jelly. It's supposed to have a red tint. So we'll mix that together and turn up the heat. We'll let this come to a boil, and we'll leave it. We'll come back, and once it starts boiling, we'll come back and start stirring it. Okay, while you're waiting for your jelly to come to a faux rolling boil, you can be cleaning and getting your jars ready. Now this recipe can be either canned or it can be frozen. And if you've watched my channel much, you know I prefer to freeze things. I don't can things. So if you're freezing this, you just need to make sure your jars are clean, just like you would any other thing you would put into the freezer. You don't sterilize your freezer bags or anything. You use them directly out of the box. But you should clean and make sure that the glass jars are clean. And I prefer to run them through the dishwasher when I first get them on the sterilization setting. It doesn't really sterilize them, but it cleans them super well because you don't know where they've been at the store. And so I clean those. But if you're going to can these, then you need to sterilize the jars just like you would any other canning, for any other kind of canning purposes. I don't can, so I don't do that. But I do clean my jars out well. I prefer glass jars or plastic jars for this, as long as they're freezer worthy. I do not put jelly and jams into freezer bags. I prefer the jars. That way you can just put them in the fridge, leave them thaw, or even put them in the microwave to heat them up a little if you like your jelly warm. So that is what I've done while I was waiting for this to boil. It is now at a faux boil. It has a little bit of time yet to go. It's got about 9 minutes yet to go. Oops. Alright, so we stir it every once in a while to keep it. It is looking beautiful. It's going to be so pretty in the jars. So we'll just keep this up. And like I said, I got my jars all over here waiting. I've got some in the back there for extra. I prefer these little jars mainly because this is used mainly just for the two of us, and we don't go through it that fast. And this is good in the freezer for six to months to a year. But once you put it in the fridge, it needs to be used up within a month. And it's hard for us to go through and use this in a month. I do use a little bit larger jars if I'm going to put some back to be used as a glaze on ham or something, or turkey. Oh, this is really good. Like after Thanksgiving, when you have turkey sandwiches, this is a good sauce to put on those sandwiches. Now you can broil this for 10 minutes and your jelly is going to be a little bit more like a sauce. It's not going to gel up as much. Or you can wait the whole 15 minutes until it gels more. I want this to be a gel, so I'm going to let it go the whole 15 minutes. You can add red pepper flakes to this if you like a hotter jelly, and you can adjust it to your taste, or you can leave them completely out if you like a sweeter tasting jelly. We kind of like it without the peppers, so I'm not putting peppers in this. So it's continue stirring. You don't want it to stick to the bottom. And it will thicken up as it cooks, and it will also thicken up once you pour it into your jars. I leave this cool down a little bit in the pot before I put it into the jars, simply because my jars are not preheated. They're cool, they're cold. So I don't want to put this super hot liquid into the jars, cold jars, because I don't want to break them. So we will let this boil until the 15 minutes, and then we'll leave it cool down just a little, and then we'll put it into the jars. And then once it's in the jars, we will leave it cool down more before we put the lids on and before we put them in the freezer. We will put them in the fridge to let them cool down. Now, these peppers are going to want to sink to the bottom. So once you put the lid on it, before it's completely gelled, you want to turn it upside down so that they can go back. And as they gel, they will be suspended in the liquid instead of being all at the bottom, which makes for a prettier presentation. So I will see you back in 5 minutes or so, according to the timer, and we'll see what it looks like then. Okay, it's been 15 minutes. If you have a candy thermometer, you want it to be up to 220 degrees before you turn the heat off. And if this is there, so it should gel nicely. So we're just gonna take it off the heat and leave it cool down a couple of minutes. Leave it cool down a few minutes before we and that's what it's looking like as it's cooling down. We will leave it cool just a little bit before we add it to the jars. Okay, once your jelly has started to cool down, you can start to ladle it into your containers. Now, you should leave at least a ½ inch from the top for this to expand. Your freezer jars should have a line that says freezer on them. That way you know where to fill them up to. But just ladle it in. It's so pretty. Now this isn't a type of jelly that you would use like for peanut butter and jelly. You wouldn't use that for this. You would use this on top of, as a glaze on top of a ham, or like I said earlier, it's really good with a ham sandwich or a turkey sandwich. It's really good for that. Just fill them up and leave them cool a little bit before you put the tops on. And that's all it is to it. Now if you're putting it into a jar, you might want to invest into a funnel that fits into your jar. Makes it a lot easier to and you want to get all those little pepper flakes out. And like I said, you could put red pepper flakes in here if you liked it a little bit hotter, and you can always change it and put more in. That's good. It is good. So these cool down. If you get a few seeds in there, it doesn't hurt anything. You know, just when they get done, make sure you have a dry lid and just pop it over the top and seal it down right on the top. I usually use I find that if I use painter's tape, that frog tape, that can work really well in the freezer. You can just write what you want on it, and then it just lifts off when you're done, and you don't have any sticky residue left over. So that's how another way I preserve my peppers. So I hope you've learned something. I hope you had a good time. Remember, down the corner there's a little button that says subscribe. You can hit that and subscribe to the channel. It doesn't cost anything. You can give it a thumbs up. That will tell YouTube that you like my what I'm saying, you like what I'm showing you. And hit the bell icon, and that'll tell you when I'm on next. And like always, God bless, dream big, and follow that dream. Bye for now.